Hi, you're listening to Kids Squatch Watch, where we talk about everything under the sun. Cryptids, the paranormal, UFOs, and anything else strange or unusual. If you've got a story or experience to share with us, email us at kidsapsquatchwatch@gmail.com. We keep you anonymous. Washington is famous for its cryptids. We have several, in case you weren't aware. From the famous Sasquatch and his many names to Batsquatch, only ever reportedly seen once, there have been stories of cryptids from the west side of the state to the east side, down south, and up north around Canada. Resident cryptids include Chili, the dragon of Lake Chelan, the Tacoma Narrows giant Pacific octopus, Cadborosaurus, known as Caddy, who is one of the Pacific Northwest's many sea serpents, the Gumbaroo, and the basket ogress. Our first subject is Sasquatch. We've covered Sasquatch quite extensively in our previous episodes. They're known by many different names because they exist all over the world. Known as Sasquatch, Bigfoot, the hairy man, mountain devils, booger, and swamp ape in North America, they're known as Yeren in China, Almas in Mongolia, and the Himalayan Yeti, or abominable snowman, in the Himalayas from Tibet to Nepal. They're very tall, most often reported to stand between 6 feet and 9 feet tall, but in some cases have been reported to be as tall as 15 feet, such as in Canada. They're reported to look very much like humans, yet also ape-like in appearance. Short legs, longer thighs, arms that hang down closer to the knees. Sometimes a rounded or cone-like head that rests atop its shoulders, its neck invisible beneath the body, covered in lengthy hair that ranges in color from black and white to rusty red. They're masters of mimicry and can mimic people and animals that you're familiar with to trick you. They're actually known as great tricksters. They've been known to steal fruit from people's orchards, fish laying on the riverbank, or hanging from racks, and abscond with women and small children from neighboring tribes. They speak their own languages, and they've been able to communicate with the tribes local to them since the beginning of time. In John Green's 1978 book titled Sasquatch, The Apes Among Us, he posited that 80% of reported sightings and footprints found in North America at the time had occurred in areas that received more than 17 inches of rainfall annually. With the passage of time and collection of more witness reports, this idea has only been further validated. This makes the idea that Sasquatch uses waterways as a means of travel far more credible. It's logical for Sasquatch to use waterways as a way to travel. They all lead somewhere, and they all usually have food or food nearby, like berries, roots, insects, frogs, and fish. Encounters with Sasquatch usually go one of a few ways. Either you're both minding your own business when you cross paths and the Sasquatch turns to head the other direction, or it wants you to leave the area and gets the message across by screaming, growling, or throwing rocks at you. Other times you will catch one spying on you while you're camping or peeking through your windows while you're home. They have a special interest when it comes to children, so if you have kids, don't let them play outside alone. I can personally attest to that one, but that's a story for another time. Our next resident cryptid is the Batsquatch. Local lore says that Batsquatch has been seen flying in our skies since after the May 18th, 1980 eruption of Mount St. Helens. I have scoured the internet, and I honestly couldn't find any kind of database where witnesses submit their sightings. The only thing I could find were websites detailing other people's encounters, but not citing any of their sources. Some had names, but no way to contact them or verify if they were real people or not. I have a hard time confidently citing sources I have found on YouTube or blogs, because the question begs to be asked, where did they find their sources? Now that I have that out of the way, I can continue with the subject at hand. The Batsquatch has been described as 9-foot-tall humanoid creature, yet has the snout of a wolf or a bat. It is covered in a gray-blue hair, making it look purple to some people. It's been reported to have red or glowing eyes, and its description is ape-like, yet humanoid, tall, and covered in hair sounds very much like that of our typical Sasquatch. However, it's unique in the fact that it has huge, leathery wings that resemble those of a bat. Their wingspan reportedly reaches between 30 and 50 feet fully extended, which makes it possible for this absolutely massive creature to fly. Its face features a snout, unlike Sasquatch, which resembles that of a wolf or a bat. Its teeth are noticeable, and it has strong-looking claws on its hands and feet. Like Sasquatch, the Batsquatch smells terrible. According to witnesses, their encounters with Batsquatch were accompanied by a strong sulfuric smell. Everywhere I've seen on the internet states that reports started coming in about this creature soon after the eruption of Mount St. Helens, leading some to theorize that the eruption itself triggered the appearance of this creature. Perhaps it lived in the forest or far into the caves on the mountain, and then when it erupted, the creature was displaced. Maybe all of the sightings were simply the creature trying to find a new home after the eruption. I couldn't find any news articles detailing any sightings. The creature has reportedly been seen flying near Mount St. Helens, Mount Rainier, the Cascade Mountain Range, and in Olympic National Park. These are mountainous areas, thick with trees and loaded with caves that no one ever sees. In 1994, a teen named Brian Canfield was driving on a remote road in Buckley, Washington, when his truck stalled. While stuck there, an enormous winged creature flew towards him and landed on the road in front of him. It stood there and watched him shortly before flying away. A man named Butch Whitaker reported that he was in a private plane near the area of Canfield's encounter when he encountered a flying Batsquatch himself. A driver of a truck hauling logs in northern Oregon reported colliding with a Batsquatch that was about 15 feet tall. He described it as having purple eyes, a nose, and small wings. In 2009, several people were hiking near Mount Shasta in California and witnessed a huge creature with leathery wings spanning 50 feet across fly out of a crevice in the mountain. In June 2011, a man was walking in his yard with his dog, and when he went to go pick up the dog, he saw something large with bat wings and blue fur flying in the sky. On April 14th, 2014, at a high school in Akron, Ohio, a second period Spanish class witnessed something big and black whip past the window at a high rate of speed. The class claimed that it was about 9 feet tall, with a wingspan of about 20 to 30 feet. Throughout the years, other creatures resembling Batsquatch have been seen by witnesses. Deva, a red, bat-like creature, was spotted by Geoffrey Hodgson in the Lake District of England in June 1922. Geoffrey Hodgson was a British expert on the world of fairies and wrote about many of his experiences observing fairies in different locations. Him witnessing a winged beast and attributing it to fairies seems logical for the time period he lived in, as well as the locales he was frequenting to do his observations. Another creature, called the unnamed kaiju, was seen in Oshika, Shizuoka, Japan on February 7, 1826. The beast had a cat-like face, the limbs of a monkey, and a body about the size of a dog. Its wings spanned a little over 3 feet. Reportedly, it was captured by a local farmer, but no one knows what happened to it after it was caught. In 2009, several hikers in the Cascades said that they saw a big winged figure gliding between summits at sunset. In 2008, a group of people camping in Olympic National Park claimed that all of their devices died at the same time, and then they proceeded to witness a large winged shadow fly overhead and temporarily block out the stars. What do you think? Did the eruption of Mount St. Helens force this creature to escape the depths of the mountainside to look for a new place to inhabit? Perhaps this creature was seen as it was out learning its new territory. Given the range of sightings over the years, it's entirely possible that a large winged beast could be spending its time within the mountain ranges around here. Whether the buzz is to be believed or not, it's an interesting creature. We've all heard of the Loch Ness Monster. Nessie, as the monster is lovingly called around the world, lives in a loch named after a river called Ness. Cadborosaurus, or Caddy for short, is just one of the many water serpents that we speak about in the Pacific Northwest. It lurks in the waters of the Puget Sound and the Strait of Juan de Fuca, as well as along the coastline of British Columbia. Sea serpents have been seen up and down the west coast from California all the way up to Alaska. The serpents have some similarities between each other as well. It got its name from Cadboro, a bay in British Columbia. Saurus is Greek for reptile. Saurus is Greek for reptile or lizard. It was seen in 1933 in the Haros Strait, but natives saw it first and much earlier. Caddy is known to have a snake-like body and a head shaped like that of a horse or a camel. It's up to 150 feet long, according to witness reports, and has flippers and humps along its body. We mere humans are unsure of Caddy's feeding habits, but it has been seen swimming after schools of fish, and on 7 occasions witnesses have reported to have seen Caddy attacking ducks and geese sitting atop the water. In several of these attacks, Caddy was seen swallowing the birds whole. Archie Willis, who was editor of the Victoria Daily Times, pounced on reports from people whom he considered reliable witnesses to feature their stories. In-depth coverage of the sightings started about October 5, 1933. Zoological experts at the time were also very interested in the events. Dr. C. McLean Fraser, FRSC, was the head of the zoology department at the University of British Columbia. He said that until someone gets a lasso around one of these things, we will never be able to get much farther. It's possible that there are such things. The British Columbia Scientific Cryptozoology Club was created in 1989 to document and study these sightings. They seem to still be active today, and their website is an excellent source of information on the Cadborosaurus. Another sea creature seen in the past, spotted in the mouth of the Columbia River on the Oregon coast, is called Colossal Clod. Another monster spotted on the Oregon coast is called Marvin the Monster, although many people who have lived in the area for a long time say that it's just a mistaken identity and that the other sea monster is likely Clod. Another serpent seen includes the Yakut's serpent. Colossal Clod, as a strange monster has been called since its first sighting in 1934, is described as having a 15 to 40 foot long round and tan body. Not round like a circle based on pictures drawn by witnesses, but round as in cylindrical. It has a neck which is estimated to be 8 feet long with a head attached to it described as snake, camel, or horse-like. Based on the pictures, again, this would be a head which is wide at the forehead with a long snout that tapers to a more narrow point. It has a long snake-like tail. Claude's first witnesses came forward in 1934. L.A. Larson, first mate on the Columbia River lightship, and other crew members watched the creature with binoculars. Claude was seen again in 1937 by the crew on a fishing trawler named Viv. Captain Charles E. Graham described it as a long, hairy, tan-colored creature with the head of an overgrown horse, about 40 feet long, with a 4-foot waist. A few weeks after this, a couple saw the creature, which they said looked like an aquatic giraffe, a long devil's churn. In 1939, the crew of the fishing ship Argo saw Claude. It reared up over the water 10 feet away from the hull of the ship. They observed it eating fish before they turned away from it. They said that it had a camel-like head with a coarse gray fur, glassy eyes, and a bent snout. Some people think that Claude was an enormous jellyfish or a whale. Another idea is that it was a surviving plesiosaur. I sincerely doubt that these sailors mistook a jellyfish or a whale for the creature they described. That screams landlubber who has never been on the water before. These people spent their time on the water and would know the difference. It's insulting to accuse them of mistaking it for something like a jellyfish or even a whale. I would believe it was a surviving plesiosaur over any of that. Lake Chelan is home to Chile, another serpent who is known as the dragon of Lake Chelan. Chile is known to have killed people, decimating populated areas and destroying water vessels. It's been described as a long and scaly cross between an alligator and a snake. It has sharp teeth and wings. Chile is considered a spirit capable of great harm and destruction. Lake Chelan is at least 1,486 feet deep and it's 50 miles long. It has long been speculated that Lake Chelan, which was carved by ancient glaciers, may have undiscovered waterways and caves connected to it. It's incredibly deep. In fact, it's the third deepest freshwater lake in the United States. The natives who lived in the area were said to have been afraid to canoe on the lake, making it difficult for them to gather food. In 1945, a local school bus hit a large, dislodged rock during a heavy snowstorm and plunged into the lake. 16 lives were lost that day, including the school bus driver, who had recently returned from serving in World War II, a community member who had caught a ride that morning to get to a dentist appointment, and 14 children, ranging from elementary age to high school. Scuba divers were called in from the Bureau of Reclamation to get the bus and victims back to the surface, but the bus had slid from a shelf in the lake and stopped at a depth of 210 feet and about 275 feet from shore. So Navy divers were called in to retrieve it. When the bus was located, it was found laying upside down. As the story goes, when the divers went down to retrieve the bus, they saw an enormous shadowy figure swimming about 200 feet down. This scared one of the divers so badly that he refused to go back in the water. 9 of the victims' bodies were never recovered. This is one of the many reasons why Lake Chelan is known for not giving up its dead. Washington has had increased risk of forest fires in recent years. As the weather warms up and things begin to dry out, it seems fitting to include the gumbaroo in this collection. Found in Washington and Oregon, the gumbaroo is said to live amongst the stumps and burned-out cedars of the Pacific Northwest forests. Early lumberjacks described it as larger than a bear with a tough, shiny black hide. It spends its day eating whatever it can get and has an appetite so large that it can eat a horse in one sitting. During a forest fire, the animal will burn and then reawaken. Fire is said to be the only thing that can kill the fearsome creature, causing it to explode. The gumbaroo will use its long, black tail to trip you. There may be no hope for escape, because bullets and arrows are said to ricochet off of its armor-like hide. The wild woman of the woods, also called the basket ogress and Zinukwa, is a forest being who steals naughty or careless children. Many Coast Salish tribes have stories about her, with slight variations. In the stories, she captures children who are disobedient or unkind and puts them into the basket she carries on her back, whisking them back to her home to eat them. However, her victims usually outwit her and escape. In one story, children are targeted not only for their disobedience, but also because they were mean and greedy and made a hunchbacked boy eat only the tails of the salmon while they kept the best parts for themselves. The hunchbacked boy shouted for the woman to come down, for his friends had continued to give him the tails of the fish for the duration of their canoe trip. She did come down to the children, but scooped up the hunchbacked boy first, which is a lesson in tattling, if you didn't notice, and made her way home to cook the children. The hunchbacked boy escaped. The children who were left in the basket were taken back to her home and taken out of the basket to watch her put stones on the fire to cook them. The children complimented the basket ogress and coaxed her into dancing for them. As she sang about roasting them over the fire, she got closer and closer until the children were able to push her and hold her down onto the hot stones to cook. This is one example of the basket ogress coming to teach naughty children a lesson and being outsmarted in the end. One of my favorite cryptids is a local favorite and very, very real. It is the Pacific giant octopus. Many people have heard of the kraken, a giant cephalopod-type creature that sank ships and stole lives. In the waters of Washington, however, there is the giant Pacific octopus. It's rumored to live beneath the Tacoma Narrows Bridge. Over the years, its size has been greatly exaggerated, but I assure you that there is no need to exaggerate the size of this octopus. It's said the largest octopus it's said it is the largest octopus species in the world. A 50-pound octopus can fit through a 2-inch hole. Octopus ink is a sepia color and is used as a defense mechanism to block predators' view. The giant Pacific octopus can weigh up to 110 pounds, but one as large as 156 pounds was once found by Canadian researchers. They can live 3 to 5 years in the wild, and they subsist on a carnivorous diet of scallops, clams, shrimp, crabs, lobster, fish, and soft-bodied prey. They have excellent eyesight, and their arms can reach up to 16 feet. Each arm can lift 100 times their weight. If there is anything more terrifying than cryptids that we haven't caught yet, it's the ones that we've already confirmed. Our last cryptid is an honorary mention. I would like to introduce you to Shrimpy, the Bremerton basement shrimp. Strange Magazine, which did not make it a habit to verify the reports that they received, featured a report from a woman named Virginia Staples, who stated that she had a strange encounter in the basement laundry room of her apartment building. Many old-timers around Kitsap have heard of the secret tunnels that run from various places in Bremerton to the shipyard. They are whispered about, and while these tunnels do exist, they've been blocked off so that people can't access them. There was an apartment building in Bremerton that used to be the old hospital, and its basement had tunnels that led to the shipyard. This isn't an urban legend. This building existed. I know that other buildings have been torn down since then, but many of our locals actually used to live in the building. The building that Virginia Staples lived in had similar tunnel openings inside its basement, which were rumored to lead to the sewers or to the Puget Sound. Virginia was hanging her laundry on the line to dry when she glanced up and happened to catch sight of a monstrous creature that she could only describe as an orange, 5-foot-tall crustacean with spidery legs and antennae that kept moving back in and out. She said that it started towards her and she backed up the stairs out of the basement and made it up to her apartment, where she packed her things and moved to her cousin's home in Seattle that very day. She went to an aquarium to try to identify what it was, and the only creature that came close to what she saw was a shrimp. She gathered the courage to return many years later, but said that the Navy had expanded and the little apartment that she lived in had been torn down. I've gone to investigate the area, which was said to be Denny Street. I also checked to see if any other streets near the water had historically been named Denny. The existing Denny Street does have areas that could have been multifamily units or multi-story. In Bremerton, many of the large older houses have been converted to multi-unit apartments, so this is what I imagine would have once stood there. Many of the houses on that street that had stood in the 40s and 50s have been torn down, except for a couple of them. If it was a hoax, it was done by someone very familiar with the area. In the meantime, Shrimpy will live on in the hearts of Bremertonians in the know forever. You've been listening to Kitsap Squatch Watch. We like to talk about cryptids, the paranormal, UFOs, and of course our favorite guy around here, Sasquatch. If you've got a story to tell us, let us know at kitsapsquatchwatch@gmail.com. Good night, and remember, keep an eye out. There's always something worth seeing.